Hey there, it's Nick Garcia, your online holistic nutritionist and certified nutrition specialist. In today's video, I'm going to go over the top 7 triggers keeping you overweight. Now, when we think about triggers, we think about emotional triggers, that one person, that ex that, triggers you into anger, or, you see something online that triggers an emotional response that, you want to give your opinion or provide facts for the other person so they can see another side of things. And today's video is exactly like that, except these triggers are things that you're doing every day, some of your habits when it comes to your diet, your exercise, the way you're sleeping, your stress. And so these triggers are to help you become aware, just like an emotional trigger. It's good to become aware of those. So if you want to, combat that or, avoid having a trigger, you make yourself aware of it. You become conscious of it, and then you try to find solutions for those triggers. And I'm going to provide you with a few solutions when I go over the top 7 triggers keeping you overweight. Now, triggers in this case are anything that you're doing with the topics that I'm going to present today that essentially trigger your fat cells to become more stubborn. And that means that you're going to become more diet resistant. The harder you diet, the worse off you're going to be, the harder it is for you, it's going to be harder for you to lose weight. And this leads to not only weight gain, but diseases like diabetes, obesity, obviously, even some forms of cancer, because remember, everything that happens at the cell level. So if you're not protecting your cells, if you're not keeping your cells happy, then you are in for lots of diseases and definitely having a hard time losing weight. So there we go. There's the intro for the video. Let's go ahead and start with number 1. So protein is the first trigger. Now obviously protein in and of itself is not necessarily a trigger, but everything that revolves around how much protein you're getting, what is your protein source? Are you combining that protein with a good quality carbs and fats so you get lots of enzymes helping you digest the protein? And so how protein is in your lifestyle, like how you're eating protein, like I said earlier, and everything that has to do with that, how much you're eating, how little you're eating. Protein or lack thereof or bad sources of protein can be a huge trigger. Protein is the most thermogenic, meaning it is the most calorie burning macronutrient between the 3 that I'm going to go over here. So one of the easiest ways for you to effortlessly start losing weight is to boost your protein intake. I have the pleasure of speaking with women all week long, and 9 times out of 10, they're not eating enough protein. And the 1 out of 10 woman that's struggling to lose weight is eating enough protein, but it's usually from a very bad source. So remember, the way you think about, the way you're eating, how much, at what time, so your meal timing throughout the day, and tons of other factors could potentially trigger you from, it can trigger those fat cells becoming more resilient. And that is definitely something that you do not want. You want your muscle cells to be resilient. And protein can help you with that. Trigger number 2 is fats. Now, we all know that there was, high fat craze and then a low fat craze. And you're supposed to, completely avoid saturated fats, like your life depended on it. But all that has been debunked, and now we know that actually saturated fats are the healthiest fats that you can eat. And the ones that you want to avoid are the ones that they're using at fast food joints, restaurants, vegetable oils that are just processed and refined to the point of they're completely destroyed. And so polyunsaturated vegetable oils, which is the oils you should definitely avoid and limit, become rancid and they oxidize very quickly. So say you buy a bottle of canola oil, as soon as you expose that to more light, so it's transported usually in something dark, but then it's light in the grocery store, you bring it to more light, and then you open it, you expose it to oxygen, and then you heat it up, you expose it to heat. All those things break down the fatty acid bonds in that canola oil, making them not only more inflammatory, but very detrimental to the health of your cells. And this causes a host of problems, and it makes losing weight when you're trying to overcome insulin resistance impossible, because these polyunsaturated oils, they kind of make a coat around your cells and they prevent glucose from entering the cell. So glucose is all over it throughout your bloodstream, it's too high. This triggers your pancreas to release more insulin, and then you have too much glucose, shooting your blood sugar super high, and too much insulin, and eventually that leads to insulin resistance, okay? So you want to avoid those vegetable oils and include high quality saturated and monounsaturated fats. So the way that you're eating fats, how much, what type, have a huge impact on your ability to lose weight. You can probably guess that number 3 is carbs. Now carbs is a huge topic. We have people that are doing super high carb, super low carb, no carb, medium carb, carb cycling. Carbs can literally make or break your fat loss program. So the most important thing is to not necessarily know how many carbs you're eating, but how many carbs you're able to eat according to your activity levels. Your activity levels are going to determine your ability to digest these carbs. They're also going to determine your ability to your insulin sensitivity. So we talked about the insulin resistance. If you are insulin sensitive, that's a good thing. That means you respond well. Your cells are using glucose as energy very efficiently, and you have a healthy pancreas. So carbs can trigger lots of fat storage, but they can also help build lean muscle, which will eventually build metabolically active tissue, which will help you lose fat. Now, you don't want to go completely no carb because our primary fuel source, just like your primary fuel source in your brain, is glucose. And this is a whole nother topic for a whole nother video that could last forever. But just trust me when I say don't go completely no carb. Sometimes it's good to go low carb, but other times it's good to go high carb. All right, number 4, exercise. So normally you would think, okay, any exercise is going to be helpful to my fat loss. Speaking with thousands of women and you seeing tons of women out there struggling, if you just go to the gym and see women, busting their butts on treadmills and ellipticals, and you see them look the same 3 months later, not all exercise is created equal. Nowadays we have tons of stressors. So we have emotional stress. We stress about finances, we stress about relationships, and then we have eating stress, and then we have exercise stress, and then lack of sleep stress. And so when you throw exercise, low quality exercise, non-metabolic exercise into the mix, what you have is an exercise that actually does the opposite of what you want it to do. So it can actually contribute to hormonal imbalances and you storing more fat. So you want to be aware of not the exercise you're doing, but your body's response to it. So if you do a certain exercise for a month and you see no results or progress, you feel worse, you don't feel tightened up, you still feel loose, then you should probably reevaluate your exercise program. So exercise can be a trigger. Now we have stress. So I just talked a lot about stress right now. When we have so many stressors in our life right now that our adrenal glands, our thyroid cannot handle it. So what I usually do when I have an initial consultation with the client is I take a really big picture look at their health history, at their current diet, at their exercise, at their sleeping, and I determine what is the biggest stressor that's preventing them from losing weight or whatever goal they might have. And so this is how I view stress. If you have tons of different stressors, that means you need to find that biggest stressor and try to find solutions for it. That's what I would do if I would work one-on-one with you. So that's what I recommend that you do in your own life. Figure out what's the biggest stress that's you're just obsessing about, always thinking about, preventing you from sleeping well, which happens to be number 6. I'll go ahead and reveal that. And find solutions for it, because that's going to help you see progress and see results a lot faster than just going on some cookie cutter program. So sleep, your quality of sleep, your ability to fall asleep easily. If you wake up in the middle of the night, you should go right back to sleep. If you're not sleeping well, then you are not repairing your hormones properly, and that is a huge trigger to start storing fat. Because one of the most important fat burning hormones, growth hormone, is released and is repaired and rejuvenated while you sleep. And this is a super important hormone for women to build that lean muscle that you want, and that's what's going to eventually burn off that stubborn extra fat that you definitely don't want. Okay, so we got to make sure that you're getting quality sleep. That could range from 6 to 8 hours, whatever you whatever makes you feel good. If you're able to pop up in the morning, ready to rock and roll, then that's probably a good amount of sleep for you. The last trigger are meals. So meals, when I say meals, I mean how are you combining your meals? How are you timing your meals? What do your meals look like? What types of protein, fats, and carbs are you eating in those meals? And this depends on if you're battling with leptin resistance or insulin resistance or high cortisol or low thyroid, because there's foods that inhibit your thyroid. There's foods that promote a healthy thyroid. There's foods that are better for somebody who's insulin resistant. There's fat loss foods. There's foods that aren't that great for fat loss. And so knowing these things is extremely important to figuring out what works best for you. And that's why I emphasize this you overweight, because not everybody's triggers are the same. Not everybody's stressors are the same. Remember, your body, your biochemistry, your hormones, your lifestyle, everything is unique to you. So sometimes when you follow a cookie cutter program, even an awesome cookie cutter program with perfectly balanced meals, great exercise aspect, lifestyle habit transformation, even the best program might not work for you. And that's one reason why lots of women tend to jump from program to program. And men are guilty of this too. But since women have a harder time losing weight, this tends to happen with them more. So they jump from cookie cutter program to cookie cutter program until finally sometimes, they find something that works for a short amount of time. But then, sometimes their weight comes back, rebound weight gain, or it's just not sustainable, which is a huge issue, the sustainability aspect, which is why I would love to get on the phone with you and determine what are your main fat loss stressors and your biggest triggers that are preventing you from losing weight. I've had hundreds of calls just this year helping women find out their biggest stressor and their fat loss triggers, like what exactly for them is probably preventing them from losing weight. Now remember, every single one of those women has a different diet history, a unique health history, and unique problems, different schedules, families, no families, night shifts. And so all these things are important in determining the best type of program for you. All you have to do to hop on the phone with me is to click the link above or below this video. It's /apply here, answer a few questions and tell me about yourself. Then you'll be able to schedule a call on my coaching calendar, and then we'll hop on the phone. I'll ask you a few more questions other than the ones that are on that questionnaire. And I'll be able to tell you your top 3 fat loss stressors and then provide you with an awesome little action game plan so we can address those stressors, find solutions for them, and see if you are in need of a health upgrade. So click the link above this video. Let's figure out what stressors are unique for you, your lifestyle, and your body. I'm looking forward to having a transformative call with you.